Today, we're going to be talking about thinking outside the box. I can tell you that after being in this position for not as long as you would anticipate, you tend to start going through the motions. You don't become complacent, but you get very caught up in the day-to-day. You have so many different things going on that as much variation as there is, you're going to find that you get into each one of these channels or these grooves, right? If you're going to be doing your preventative maintenance program, or if you're going to be going through your CPO logs, maybe it's budgeting time of year, whatever period of time you're going through, you'll find that you tend to find a comfortable space and kind of go along that channel. Now, that's not all bad, because it's great to have routine, it's great to have a way in which you know how to perform those specific job duties and tasks. But what it also creates is an opportunity for issues that you don't see for them to come up, and you just frankly miss them. Now, that's happened on a wide variety of different things, from preventative maintenance programs. When you have the same people doing the same tasks for extended periods of time without any variation, you're going to find that they're going to miss things. There's going to be issues that they don't come up with, some obvious misses too. And that's just because it's routine, it's mundane. Now, not to say that that's going to be the case for you, but here's some ways that you can avoid it. A long time ago, I gave a speech, and there were about 400 people that came to this event. And what I did before that was, right above the entrance of the door, I taped a picture of an elephant. And before I got up, or right when I got up on stage, the first question I asked was, did anybody see what was above the front door when they walked in? Not a single person rose their hand. And it's kind of horrifying, right? I actually had our overnight engineer at the time put that picture up and say, hey, put it up here. He did it about 3 or 4 in the morning, and he stayed around to see if anybody noticed it. Nobody did. People just became tunnel vision. They became fixed on their destination. They said, oh, I'm going to make it there. I'm going to go to this chair. I'm going to sit over there, whatever it was, and they completely missed it. And that's okay, right? It's not faulting anybody, but your job as the assistant chief of engineer is to constantly be probing and constantly be looking and on the search for issues. It can be kind of negative at times, because it seems like all you're doing is finding problems. But what do? How do you think outside the box? I'll give you a great example. Years ago, we had an issue with a leak coming through a floor. Couldn't figure it out. We opened up the ceiling, couldn't find any water lines. We went to the room that was above it, ran the toilet, ran the shower, ran a handful of different things, found some drains, couldn't do it. Couldn't duplicate the issue. A couple weeks later, problem would come back, right? It wasn't very major, so it wasn't a critical issue, but what it was enough to cause a pain. It was in a common area that people could see, and it became visually an eyesore. We couldn't figure it out. It kept going away, reoccurring. It was random. Couldn't figure it out. Couldn't pin it. Tried everything. We had leak detections. We did everything we possibly could have. We had our overnight engineer walk around. We had mid-shift. We did everything possible, until we found out that the janitor was going in there, or housekeeping rather, was cleaning the floor as they should have been, and there was a floor drain that was kind of in the center of that. Now, we ran some water down it. We didn't run a lot of water. That was our mistake, but not enough to get it to back up. Found out at the end of the night what the housekeeper was doing was dumping out the entire bucket of the mop, so it would not only cover the whole floor, but then overwhelm that drain. Found out that drain would back up, and when the housekeeper did that is what caused that issue. So you're going to find times that things aren't going to make sense. You're going to look at it. You're not going to be able to find a solution. But just remember, don't get too stuck in your ways. I'll leave you with one final example, and that is, we had something very similar. We would come into a common area kitchen room, and in that there was a tile floor. And maybe once every 3 or 4 days, we would have a pool of water that was approximately 1 to 2 feet in diameter. Looked up, nothing on the ceiling. Looked over to the left, looked to the right. It was about 8 feet from the soda machine and the ice machine. Couldn't possibly figure out how that was going to affect it. And what it ended up being was that the ice had an auger in there. The ice machine had an auger, and every several hours, to ensure that it didn't freeze into a big giant glob of ice, the auger would run and it would discharge a small 2 to 3 ice cubes, and it would bounce off the grate, hit the floor, and then pile up in the middle of it, causing that. So just remember that, have that incorruptible skepticism we talked about earlier. Don't take things for face value, and wonder, what is it that takes this thing full circle? Who's involved? What departments also participate in whatever area it is that's having an issue? Use my housekeeping example of the floor and ceiling being wet below, where we couldn't figure it out. It wasn't a common occurrence, but who all is involved to make this thing happen? What other departments have access to this room, to this door, to this area? And I promise you, you will find that sometimes the solutions themselves are not at all what you thought they would have been. But just remember, don't get stuck in that groove. Shake yourself every once in a while. Set a reminder on your calendar every 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 days, however often you want to do it, and just say, hey, get out of the normal. Stop being routine. Stop being complacent. And it's going to help you go a long ways.